All right, let's get started. First, we're going to check in. I'm Dr. Camilla Davis, the director of the National Youth Poet Laureate Program. We have our laureates for the 2020 regional cohort, as well as 2 national laureates on today. They're each going to check in and tell us where they're calling from and jump right into our program from there.
Hey everybody, my name is Kara Jackson. I am the 2019 National Youth Poet Laureate, coming from you live from my living room in Chicago, Illinois.
Word.
Hey guys, my name is Samuel. I am 17 and I am the 2019 Oakland Youth Poet Laureate, calling in from my bedroom in Oakland, California.
Hi y'all, my name is Mira. I'm 16 and the New York City Youth Poet Laureate and representing the Northeastern region.
Hi everybody, my name is Taylor Henslin. I'm the 2019 South Florida Youth Poet Laureate and oh my gosh, what else was I supposed to say? Oh no.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Weston, yes, okay.
Hi everyone. My name is Na Faris. I'm the Ann Arbor IPSI 2019 Youth Poet Laureate. I'm representing the Midwest region currently. I'm coming at you from my bedroom in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Big shout out to the Neutral Zone, my home org as well. And thank you all for being here as well.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Amandla Gorman, and I'm the 2017 Inaugural Youth Poet Laureate. I'm calling from my home in Los Angeles, California. Super excited to be here and to introduce kind of the next segment, which is a wonderful video that I was very fortunate to be part of. It was part of a poetry project that was made by Mass Poetry, and the idea was to garner a lot of different poetic voices from around the state of Massachusetts to recite a poem that I'd written several years prior entitled In This Place, an American Lyric. When I wrote that poem, I had no idea that I would be looking up years from then and be existing during a global pandemic. But I think a lot of the thematics that are in that poem are still relevant today and something to celebrate when we have such phenomenal poets here with us today. So I hope you enjoy.
And now we are going to watch that video here.
There's a poem in this place.
In the footfalls, in the halls.
In the quiet beat of the seats.
It is here at the curtain of day
that America writes a lyric
you must whisper to say.
There's a poem in Boston's Copley Square,
where protest chants tear through the air like sheets of rain.
Where love of the many swallows hatred of the few.
There's a poem in Charlottesville,
where men so white they gleam blue, seem like statues.
Where men heap that long wax burning ever higher.
Where heather higher blooms forever in the meadow of resistance.
Hay un poema en Puerto Rico.
And in East Texas.
Where streets swell into a nexus of rivers.
There's a lyric in California where thousands of students march for blocks.
Undocumented and unafraid.
Where my friend finds the power to blossom in deadlock.
Her spirit, the bedrock of her community.
She knows hope is like a stubborn ship gripping a dock.
A truth that you can't stop a dreamer or knock down a dream.
How could this not be her city, su nación,
our country,
nuestra América?
Our American lyric to write.
A poem by the people.
The poor, the Protestant, the Muslim, the Jew.
The native, the immigrant.
The black, the brown.
The blind, the brave.
The undocumented and undeterred.
The woman, the man, the non-binary.
The white, the trans.
The ally to all of the above and more.
Tyrants fear the poet.
Now that we know it, we can't blow it. We owe it to show it,
not slow it.
Although it hurts to sow it.
When the world skirts below it.
Hope, we must bestow it.
like a wick in the poet so it can grow lit.
Bringing with it stories to rewrite.
The story of an American city depleted but not defeated.
A history written that need not be repeated.
A nation composed but not yet completed.
There's a poem in this place.
A poem in America.
A poet in every American who rewrites this nation.
Who tells a story worthy of being told on this minnow of an earth.
To breathe hope into a palimpsest of time.
A poet in every American.
Who sees that a poem penned
doesn't mean our poems end.
There's a place where this poem dwells.
It is here. It is now.
In the yellow song of dawn's bell.
Where we write an American lyric.
We are just beginning to tell.
Wow, what great work. Beautiful work. And like Amanda said in the very beginning, so timely for this moment, even though she wrote it long before. And now we just want to thank everyone who's chiming in on Facebook. Please check in the chat, say where you are watching from. Thank you so much for logging on to celebrate this amazing cohort of young people. We are now going to transition and hear from the reigning National Youth Poet Laureate, Kara Jackson, share a little bit about what the National Youth Poet Laureate program actually is, and hear from each of our 2020 regional finalists. And they have some amazing surprises for you all, so stay tuned, do not log off. We have gifts and really cool projects that these young people have designed specific to this moment, where they have created and innovated despite the challenges of us not being able to be together. So we're going to celebrate them as well as announce the next National Youth Poet Laureate. So stay tuned. You do not want to miss one bit of this. Here we go. Welcome to the 2020 National Commencement Celebration and Announcement for the National Youth Poet Laureate Program. The National Youth Poet Laureate Program is an initiative of Urban Word, created in 2008 in New York City, and in 2013 expanded to Los Angeles. In 2016, Urban Word awarded the nation's first National Youth Poet Laureate title. The National Youth Poet Laureate Program is offered through collaboration with local youth literary arts organizations across the country, including the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities, and championed by leading national literary arts organizations, including the Academy of American Poets, Poetry Society of America, Penn Center USA, and many others. Since its inception, Urban Word has partnered with leading youth literary arts organizations to launch local Youth Poet Laureate programs in more than 35 cities across the nation and counting. Founded with the commitment to create platforms to celebrate the intersections of artistic achievement and social impact, Urban Word partners with local literary arts organizations with mission-based commitments to minoritized youth, people of color, diverse artist-led organizations, and organizations that value youth leadership. And now, let's hear from the 2020 cohort of Regional Youth Poet Laureate ambassadors. These youth competed and were selected by National Youth Poet Laureate network organizations from each region of the United States to represent their region of the country.
Hey everybody, this is Kara Jackson reporting to you live from my living room to perhaps your living room or whatever shelter you've settled on for yourself. It's comforting to know that even during a pandemic, we can still have these precious moments, these little pebbles of joy. I know I'm not alone when I say I've been hardly motivated to do much. It's funny how fear freezes you. Today, we fix our eyes to our screen for perhaps a more meaningful moment than most days. To think it has been a year since my friend Pat passed the National Youth Poet Laureate title to me. I am beyond humbled by this experience and grateful to have lived out the duration of my title. This has been a year of learning, growth, and community. I cannot thank Dr. Camilla Urban Word and the Library of Congress enough. I also would like to thank my family who have supported me throughout this whole process and beyond it. Also, I want to shout out the rest of my laureates who filled me with confidence, with love. I will always have a family in my regional laureates, and I'm hoping the same for you all. It is not just time we celebrate our 4th National Youth Poet Laureate. It is also a day where we acknowledge all the poets, the abundance of young talent among us. If there's one thing my experience as National Youth Poet Laureate taught me, it's that celebrations are always collective. They always encompass a crowd. There is never one torch. As poet laureates, you represent a lineage of language. So while I might be announcing one name today, try to remember that this work is not individual work. The torch is ours. Before I pass it, I want to take this time to give the best advice that I can and reflect on my own experiences as Youth Poet Laureate. I will be honest and say that your laureateship might look a lot different than mine. A year ago, I wasn't faced with a pandemic. I was often packing for a plane or preparing for some performance. Now, who knows what shape events will take? There was no Zoom ceremony, no internet inauguration. Thus, I think my advice is more affirmation than anything. This is not the time to push you toward productivity or tell you how to market yourself. I don't want you to beat yourself up over a book or worry yourself into writing. I want you to embrace your laziness and tend to your unsureness. In my laureateship, I learned quickly to treat myself with compassion. Cut yourself slack often. Cut your slack some slack. Whenever you call yourself something unkind, get the cutting board. Since the world we're used to is gone and may never return to us, there are so many questions. I encourage us all to lean into them, to write them down, to exchange them. Poems have always been a place of scrutiny, or as Audre Lorde says, poetry is the light upon which we scrutinize ourselves. We can take this time to be critical, inquisitive, scrutinizing, adjusting our qualities of light. Your poems can be a playground for your dreams, your wildest ideas. Take this time to dream, to give a body to what you thought was impossible. Don't be afraid to dream small. Don't be afraid to dream together. Or maybe your head is as hollow as an egg right now. It's okay to honor that too, to respect your present needs. Whatever this year may bring, you never have to battle it alone. May your laureateship be lathered in love, and may your poems bring you some kind of peace. Thank you all so much, and I'm really excited to find out who is the next Youth Poet Laureate.
Taylor Genselin is the Southern Regional Youth Poet Laureate Ambassador for 2020. She is a South Florida Youth Poet Laureate, a program supported by the Jason Taylor Foundation. Taylor has experienced art as an editor, a youth ambassador, and an arts educator. In addition to being a poet, she is an amazing visual artist.
He says he loves my smile, the pulling of my lips, pearly whites, the rising of rosy cheeks, the airborne choir of my laughter, infectious and uncontrollable. He thinks I am something untamed, wild and vivacious. He says he's never seen me sit still, but I do. And when I do, I can be still for days, weeks, staring at walls, sedentary and static and satiated, sitting in the rot of it all, dense and immovable, collecting dust in hopes to soon become it. Lips crack and lips bleed, and bones push on fat and flesh gives way. Flesh leaves when it is asked to go, body wastes. I have a proclivity for pushing him into seeing me unblemished. I fear one day I will push him out altogether when the itch settles in to evict everyone and everything from my being, and I start pacing the floors of our home, panting and whining, leaving all the windows and doors cracked open, whittling the hours away, writing eulogies and digging holes 6 feet deep behind our magnolia trees, waving to the worms, instinctively nesting for yet another final resting place, silent prayer for him to leave. When asked to go, he's never seen my skin, hot and pulsating with the crimson valleys I've carved artfully with our clean kitchen knives. Silent prayer that I become too heavy to lift, too burdensome to love. He has no idea. He says he loves to lie with me at night. I smile. I only ever lie in wait, the half-hearted hope that come sunrise I'll still be here, present and grounded in this body. He deserves light and nothing less. He deserves rosy cheeks, fattened hips, hearty laugh, and I know it's only a matter of time before I stop believing that I deserve it too.
Meredith Gupta is the Northeastern Regional Youth Poet Laureate Ambassador for 2020. She is the New York City Youth Poet Laureate for 2020. A fierce advocate of gender equality and climate change, she has performed at various venues ranging from the Marketplace for the Future to the Apollo Theater. And she has had her writing featured in a variety of media platforms, including the walls of the New York City bus station. Even with such a busy schedule, she still makes time to volunteer and read her favorite novels, stressing the importance of mental health for teens her age.
My hips draw circles around the block. They can pop and lock and blow kisses at the boy next door too. Woman packing the sidewalks with punches and playing cards. I bake my body into a lemon meringue. Serve it on a platter next to my poems. My skin pays my dues here. Dreams shed into laundry baskets like old clothes destined for the Goodwill. They cling onto the block and buy me dinner without settling the bill. Make me walk home in heels. Stilettos bearing bullets among chalk and decay. The stench of woman seems to hit harder at night. It clings onto my body like perfume at a funeral. The funeral a clothesline of hallelujahs. The hallelujahs hanging bodies out to dry. I see my friends here, growing in the cracks where the sidewalk ends. Their ribs of barbecue searing under the bluest of skies. My grandparents sit like porch creatures. They're cut from a strong but worn cloth. Have seen God but have come back to watch life unfold for a second time. Watch the block become a survival story. Watch my body become the block. The hood is a woman. I carry the dead between my collarbones. Scratch at them like old blood. I bear children of concrete jungle and brimstone. Let them tattoo their names onto my walls, knowing they'll never fade. I am both brass knuckle and acrylic nail. I am both a seizing god and the stray dog who paces your street like she owns the place. I am the corner deli, gum stuck to the sidewalk. Brown girls dancing to the beat of a nearby traffic jam. I am the hood. I am woman. I am a survival story.
Samuel Getachew is the Western Regional Youth Poet Laureate Ambassador for 2020. He is also the Oakland, California 2020 Youth Poet Laureate. He is a 17-year-old poet and writer. As a Black first-generation Ethiopian writer, he uses poetry to shine light on contemporary issues as well as a personal outlet for emotion. He is currently a senior at Oakland Technical High School.
We've got to recognize that kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger. Joe Biden on the issues of racial profiling and mass incarceration, June 2019. When I receive word that I'm a finalist for National Youth Poet Laureate, I exhale in relief. At last, my worth validated, my life quantified, my entire life I have been told I am exceptional. I am not like the others, I am different. How thrilling to be raised on the myth of individuality. How misleading, how egomaniacally delightful to be told that when the floodwaters come, you will be saved. To walk among the sea of regular Negroes, gangbangers, hood niggas, thugs, super predators, deadbeat baby daddies, a god amongst men. A man amongst boys, a boy amongst slaves. How blessed am I to have an opportunity to prove once and for all that I deserve freedom. To prove that my wrists are too delicate for bondage, my hands too inclined for the pen. If I die, I know they will show my grade point average on the evening news. How blessed am I to have a resume worth mentioning in the headline. How blessed am I to be a viable candidate for martyrdom. How lucky am I to be able to write myself into a place on the porch, into a seat under the table. How lucky am I to be graced with the possibility of scrounging scraps as they eat above me. How lucky, how lucky, how lucky.
Nah Ferris is the Midwestern Youth Poet Laureate Ambassador for 2020. Nah was born in Baghdad, Iraq, and moved to the United States as a refugee in 2008. She made the 2018 Louder Than a Bomb Ann Arbor Slam Poetry Team. Currently, she serves as Ann Arbor, Michigan's 2019-2020 Youth Poet Laureate, and she has recently released her debut book of poetry. Nah's work is reflective of her experiences as a queer Arab woman, American citizen, and a refugee.
My mother's pet fly. My mother maintains symmetry, with the green exoskeleton on her shoulder. Says she's her friend, this little fly, regal in all things, iridescent glistening, floating through the living room, moving with the dignity of a beetle. Treated with the honor reserved for kin, this maggot turned prince, my family's pet. They talk about her with the tone that reads, she's the version of me they wish I had been. She's a good daughter. She flies where I stumble. They praise her for just being. And for a moment I am a girl made of flies, whole body buzzing and fluttering in the ugliest way. Today I am bursting. With iridescent sheen, kaleidoscope eyes, I am noble blood, waiting to perch upon a shoulder.
So given the time we're living in, I want to read this poem that I think is very much contextualized by the current crisis we're in and this just the world that we're living in right now. It's a poem called "The World is About to End and My Grandparents Are in Love." Still living like they orbit one another. My grandfather, the planet, and grandma, his moon assigned by some gravitational pull. They have loved long enough for a working man to retire. Grandma says she's not tired. She wears her husband like a coat that survives every season. Talks about him the way my parents talk about vinyl. The subject salvaged by the tent of their tongues. Grandma returns to her love like a hymn, marks it with a color. When the world ends, will it suck the earth of all its love? Will I go taking somebody's hand, my skin becoming their skin? The digital age is taking away our winters, and I'm afraid the sun is my soulmate. That waste waits for a wet kiss. Carbon calls me pretty, and I think death is a good first date. I hope when the world ends, it leaves them be. Spares Grandpa and his game, Grandma spinning corn into weight, the two of them reeling into Western theme songs, the TV louder than whatever's coming. Thank you.
Okay, this is Dr. Camilla. I am about to stop this share because I just got word that we cannot see our laureates. And in this digital reality, we all that come from the spoken word tradition know that you just have to go with it. So we're going to stop and try to figure out how to make sure we can see our laureates before we do this announcement, because that is important. It's way more important than looking at me. So try to just do this technical difficulty real quick and let's check back. So Facebook, people, if you could chime in, write in the chat, can you see all of our laureates? Because this is really important for us. Okay, so back to our previously scheduled program. I hope you enjoyed the poetry, which was phenomenal. I'm trying not to cry over here. And now we will be announcing the nation's next National Youth Poet Laureate. And I hope you can see all of our laureates as they find out.
Okay, so first of all, that was very unexpected. I'm shaking right now, but what's very interesting is that today I was actually talking to some people in my poetry community, Climate Speaks, and they were telling me that today was actually the first time that we all were labeled as winners of Climate Speaks. Today was the day we actually were notified of that. So it's interesting to see that exactly how far I've come in a year since then, but I just want to say that it's an honor to have this position. And for a few more words, I'm trying to find my speech because I wrote one, but I really did not expect it. But okay. It is an honor to be serving as the United States Poet Laureate 2020. This year, I hope to redefine what it means to be an American, to portray intersectional feminist voices at the crossroads of poetry and activism. I know that this position entails a tremendous amount of responsibility and that I have been given a mic to the nation, but with it, I hope to uplift the voices of many others and to pass the mic, in fact. Because even though I know that there are many large stages, it's also important to speak at schools and libraries because the youth are the future and our voices will turn the tide at the brink of this new decade. So thank you to everyone who voted and the iconic people who are on these calls. Congrats to all of you. Shout out to Urban Word, all my mentors throughout this program, Girl Be Heard, Climate Speaks, and the poetry community for this award.
Awesome. Congratulations, Mira. And I want to just congratulate everyone who made it to be the top 4 Youth Poet Laureates in the country. It's an incredible program that celebrates not only artistic excellence, but what a lot of people don't know. You know, they hear your amazing poems, but they don't know that you're also activists and you really dedicate your work to social impact. So that is incredible. These 4 poets will work together for the next year. So as much as Mira won the National Youth Poet Laureate title, this cohort stays together. They do readings together. We had a workshop series for them planned in Providencetown, which I'm not sure if that's going to happen right now, but we'll make it up to you. Mira is also the youngest National Youth Poet Laureate ever at 16 years old. So good job with that. You know, I just want to thank all the poets who participated. I want to thank the national partners, the Library of Congress, of course, the Academy of American Poets and the Poetry Coalition, the NEA, and the Poetry Foundation. Grateful for Urban Word's board of directors and our staff. I just want to shout out the staff because they do a lot of work on this program. Our Deputy Director, Chanel Gabriel, our Development Director, Marissa Lewis, our Artistic Director, Mahogany L. Brown, Poet in Residence, Roya Marsh, our Social Media Manager, who was also last year's New York City Youth Poet Laureate, Cameron Bruno, our Creatively College Bound Coordinator, Erica Fabry, who also edited these videos for us. And last but not least, a huge thank you to our YPL Program Director. She works with all of these organizations across the country that have local programs. She works on the contest that brings all those young people together to form this great group of 4 finalists that represent our regional winners. And she also helps produce all of the events that these young people will participate in. And her name is Dr. Camilla Davis. You've heard from her. So thank you, Dr. Davis. I want to direct folks to our website after this event on the youthlaureate.org website. This is an ambitious group. They put together an anthology of poems called Between Starshine and Clay, and we have a free download for you. So if you go to youthlaureate.org/2020, you'll get to download their anthology of poetry. And they also, on top of that, made personal videos. So you'll get to watch their videos. Of course, this organization, Urban Word, and the National Youth Poet Laureate Program has been impacted by the pandemic. So if there's any way you can donate to this work, we're going to put the donate link in the comments section. But even more so, on June 4th, mark the calendar right now, we're doing an Alumni Marathon reading at 7 p.m. Facebook Live again. We have, as many of you know, an incredible group of young writers that have come through the New York City program, and we have about 2 hours of poetry from phenomenal poets, many poets that you know out in the world, many poets that are doing big things in community organizing. We have doctors, professors, you name it, as part of our roster of alum dating back to 2002. I think we have alum. So it's going to be an incredible event on June 4th. Before we close this out, I want to send our thoughts and prayers to the families that have been most impacted by this pandemic. Excuse me, losing my voice. You know, we're here for you, and we're here to keep shining some light that we can in this difficult time. I also want to send congratulations to the class of 2020. We get to see Mr. Barack Obama spit after this for the class of 2020 with his address, so that'll be great. And last but not least, we're going to close out this event. Amandla Gorman, who was the first National Youth Poet Laureate, you got to hear her poem at the beginning of this event. Again, not only did these poets create an anthology, create personal videos, they also did a remix of this poem, American Lyric. So we're going to close with that. I want to thank everybody who's been a part of this program, all of our partners and all of these young people. I think we might even do a National Youth Poet Laureate Marathon reading as well with all the laureates from across the country dating back to 12 years of this program. So look out for that, and hopefully I'll see you all on June 4th. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Congrats to all of these poets, Mira, Taylor, Na, and Samuel. You're phenomenal young leaders, more so than poets. I'm excited by how you're leading this next generation of young people in the world. You just happen to have incredible gifts as artists. So thank you all, and let's cue up the video.
My poem is an American lyric.
There's a poem in Oakland.
There's a poem in this place.
There's a poem in Miami.
There's a poem here. Somewhere between Hell's Canyon and the Nevada Strip, there's a hum of loving.
There's a poem snaking all the way down the coast to a Los Angeles high school.
It is the chanting of folks who have learned how to dream through the heat.
This is my home and yours.
There is a lyric bound into this earth.
My poem phoned a friend in California, told him that he was an American.
Somewhere in America, a girl forgets where she's from.
There's a poem here,
blooming from between the cracks.
The heartbeat still pulsing,
to sing through the sweat.
Watching the world come alive in its name.
Somewhere, there's a song, and we sing it.
We at Urban Word would like to thank all of our national partners, community members, and friends for tuning in for this year's 2020 National Youth Poet Laureate announcement and celebration.